Being a superhero is a trial by fire. Who's gonna protect the world if not people like you?
Marvel fans are aware with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jen has a very understandable grievance here, which is she worked really hard for this career and shouldn't be asked to give it up. Can you talk about sort of that, trying to find that balance in her life?
Yeah, that's the whole thing for her, is like suddenly she's thrust into this whole other identity, and people sort of look to her for all the expectations that you put on a superhero. But she really has a full life outside of it. And she very much has worked her butt off to get to where she is as an attorney. And she's always having to like assert her place in her workplace and like, justify her existence there. So when she's sort of, brought in only because she's She-Hulk, it's this conflict of like, am I not enough?
If you want to go back to your life as a lawyer, I respect that.
He doesn't mean that.
I grew up reading She-Hulk comics, and I was so excited that you're doing the talking to the camera thing, breaking the fourth wall. For you, what was it like to do those scenes? And my second part of this question is, I desperately want to see now She-Hulk and Deadpool face like she did it first,
That's right. I would love to see them both like have cameras like this, that they're both trying to like dominate the camera and fight each other for fourth wall supremacy. I would love that. Yeah, it was super fun to do. It's like a daunting thing because you're creating a relationship with people who you don't actually see, but you have to hope that they're that they understand you and that you're drawing them in. And like to the kind of degree that the comics engage with it, it's about her awareness. It's about her awareness of all of the mechanisms that are operating around her, that there's a writer, that there's people reading the comic. And similarly, I feel like our show does that in that she's so aware of everything that's happening around her, and that is kind of her superpower.
From the beginning, because it was my favorite thing about her, I just couldn't get enough. I wanted it in every single scene, and it wasn't every single scene. And then I was told, okay, you've really overstepped the limits of what we want to see. So then we really pulled it back, and it was about finding the balance of how much to include so that it didn't feel intrusive to the story.
Jennifer Waters. Namaste.
I have a serious conflict of interest. This man tried to kill my cousin, Bruce.
Yeah, that's quite all right.
Oh.
There's definitely a nice sort of case of the week element to this show. Was that something when you were talking to them early on that it was clear was going to be part of it?
Yeah, that is something that came very directly from Kevin himself. And this idea of, making a show that feels familiar in a lot of ways. We have a lot of outlandish elements in the show and a lot of things that feel very different and tonally strange and then all these outrageous characters. And so the idea of grounding it in something that an audience is used to, a procedural law show, was something that was very important to all of us.
In the same way that Jen is like, no, I'm a lawyer, I feel like she also keeps dragging this show into like, no, we're in like the courtroom, we're in like the legal, legal procedural. But then you like color it with all of these like goofy characters, and you like make the cases about like absurd superhuman grievances.
Because we're a superhuman law division representing weird superhumans, we get to have these guest stars for a certain episode that are in the comic books, but they're not in the MCU yet. And they're weird and silly and bizarre, and they're some of my absolute favorite characters. Yeah, and so representing them might be very difficult, but as a viewer and an actor, I'm like, yes, I get to see this person that I can't say yet.
I remember, when this show was early in development, people were like, hey, it'd be cool if Daredevil showed up because he's also a lawyer and a superhero. Actually getting to do that was, it was early. Was that an early conversation on your side for everyone that like, hey, this would make sense?
When you are grounding a show in reality, and that reality happens to be in the MCU where a superhuman law firm exists, you kind of have to have Daredevil. And I think everybody on the creative team knew that the expectation is going to be the other lawyer has got to show up. It was definitely a wish from the beginning that it wasn't hard to incorporate. And it's what I love about the premise of the show. Yes, we have a ton of cameos, but they're really not gratuitous because we're operating in a world where superheroes need legal help too. So the possibilities are kind of infinite.